I always wanted to go to work for Exxon. My dad worked for Exxon, my uncle worked for Exxon, and my son now works for Exxon. So I really wanted to go to work, and they had no problem hiring me with a U of H degree. My name is Charles Douglas Roxburgh. I graduated from the University of Houston with a petroleum engineering degree in 1962. That's a bachelor's and a master's in '63. And worked for Exxon for over 30 years and retired as the president of Exxon Coal and Minerals. During my early careers, I dealt with 3 major projects. First one was, I was working right outside of Houston here in Tomball District as a petroleum engineer, and was called in to Houston to see the vice president, and he told me that I was going on a task force because they thought they had just discovered a big oil field in Alaska, and turned out to be Pearl Bay. But I was one of 3 people who did the evaluation economics to see if it would be viable. Of course, being about the 2nd largest oil field in the United States, it turned out to be very good. Another project I enjoyed was, I was in Kingsville as a district engineering manager, and had to go to New Orleans to head up a task force because our production in the Gulf of Mexico was declining and no one could figure out why. So had about 5 or 6 engineers with me, and in a month later, we had pulled the production up over 100,000 barrels a day. They just forgot to do some basics. The last one, which was a lot of fun, is that when I was the head of the offshore with Exxon, they started the initial phases of deep water production. I lived on a drill ship doing that for about 2 months, but that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. The biggest, I guess, things for me started being the different jobs I had. Being in charge of all the offshore, then went to Malaysia, was the chief executive officer there in charge of all the Malaysian operations. And we won kind of the Best District Award for the corporation while I was there, which I was proud of. And then from there, I went back to the New Jersey headquarters, where I was the senior vice president in charge of all producing operations worldwide, except for Exxon USA. I had a good degree from University of Houston to be able to advance and compete, because employees of Exxon are pretty darn good. But the degree held up and let me get where I wanted to go with a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. We had fun. We used to have petroleum engineering meetings around. There's not that many schools. A&M, Texas. Texas Tech had a gas engineering school. You had LSU, and I think it was Stanford had a school. We'd meet different places and give papers and all. And I remember one time we all met out at Texas Tech, and we won all the contests. We got $150 for doing that, and Dean Kirkpatrick, being our sponsor and all, he got $150. He said, "No, here, you take my $150. So we wound up somewhere in West Texas for a couple of days, spending $300. But we finally made it back at campus. So there was some fun in between the work. Dean Kirkpatrick was just a phenomenal guy. I made a mistake one time. I was doing work out in the oil field right down here at Hastings, gathering data from a master's degree, and I hadn't been out in the oil field there, so I went up to him and I said, Dean Kirkpatrick, I said, should I wear dirty clothes or, what should I wear? He said, I don't want you to ever wear dirty clothes, Charlie. So he was something else, but he was a tough master, but learned a lot from him. We didn't take a back seat to anyone. I didn't feel like someone from down the street, Rice or UT or A&M, outcompeted what we could do with our degree. Here a while back, when they had dedication of the engineering building, I donated a room for them, and I couldn't believe it's just massive compared to what we had out there. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Be proud of your degree in your school. If you can keep a positive outlook, even when things are not going real good, it'll get you through it. And then always be honest. That's the key. I got the Distinguished Engineering Award in '93, and I thought that was a highlight of what from the university. And then I got this one. I said, my goodness, I said, it meant a whole lot to still say that the university remembers you. I'm very proud of it. I've told everybody.